How long has it been since the last time you guys watched basketball on the television? It's driving me crazy at this point, but fortunately, we have some good news regarding the situation. What's going on, guys? Your boy, TheFlightMike, back again with some NBA news, and this is by far I think this is the best video I've made this past month because it's been such a tough month for us NBA fans. But before we get to this news, guys, if you are new to my channel, but you love basketball content and you love the NBA, take a moment to drop a like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. In addition to this, guys, if you happen to be a soccer fan, I dropped my very first soccer video on Flight FC, so go ahead and check it out in the description down below. On top of that, if you're into TikToks, I've been making a lot of TikToks now that there isn't really much else to do but make content during quarantine. Now let me get you guys caught up on this phenomenal news. So with the conclusion of the regular season, or with the suspension of the regular season rather, the NBA has left a lot of questions open for answering. For example, will the New Orleans Pelicans and Zion Williamson be able to catch up with the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant and clinch that eighth seed in the Western Conference in the playoffs? Or will Ja Morant prevail? Will Kevin Durant possibly make a return to the Brooklyn Nets now that there's a suspended regular season and he has additional time to recover? Well, I don't really think that's so much of a possibility anymore, given the fact that he also has the illness. Will LeBron James and the Lakers be able to overtake Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers in a quest for LeBron James and Anthony Davis to win a championship together for Los Angeles? There's just so much to talk about. But there's a lot of problems as well. For example, will the players, once they return, will they still be in shape? Will they be fairly out of shape? Will it be like the regular season in the beginning of the season back in October when, players are still trying to shake off that rust? Or will we be able to resume the regular season soon enough to the point where players could go back to playing good basketball? The fact still remains, the world needs sports and entertainment more than ever in these difficult times, and it seems like Adam Silver understands that. But at the same time, it must be done in a way that doesn't jeopardize all of society and could prevent the spread of the current illness. So, with that in mind, we need to discuss what the NBA's plan is to resume the regular season. There were talks originally about the NBA potentially just going straight to the playoffs, but LeBron James absolutely hates that idea, and I don't blame him for hating that idea. LeBron would say one thing you can't just do is go straight to the playoffs, because it discredits the 60-plus games that guys had fighting for that position. But guess what? In a podcast with the Road Trippin' crew, LeBron James would actually suggest a phenomenal alternative. And he suggested, in order to build excitement for the final sliver of a regular season, the Road Trippin' crew suggested to use those games to have the teams currently seeded at numbers 8 to 11 in the Western Conference to play each other in a mini play-in tournament, while the number 1 to 7 seeds play the teams at the bottom of the West for their tune-up games. In the scenario they presented, the Memphis Grizzlies would play a best-of-3 set against the number 11 Sacramento Kings, while the number 9 Portland Trailblazers would play a best-of-3 set against the number 10 New Orleans Pelicans, which would lead to both winners playing against each other for a playoff berth. By the way, that sounds so freaking lit. I'd be down for this format potentially moving forward. But without a doubt, we could agree that there's no way that you could just jump straight into the playoffs. Players could be out of shape. You need some time for players to get reacclimated to the situation, not to mention the fact that they would have to be playing in empty arenas. So what would be an instance where we could do this? Because there's also some players that are already sick, such as Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. Thankfully, Christian Wood has fully recovered. But you want to do whatever you can to prevent the spread of this. So according to some team executives, Las Vegas has apparently emerged as a centralized neutral site for games if the league is able to complete the 2019 to 2020 season. And this is according to Jabari Young of CNBC, who reports that team executives prefer Vegas as the location for the resumed season rather than having teams travel to maintain home court advantage. The NBA said it is considering numerous scenarios, but they have not yet concluded on a plan. But the NBA could set up a play-in tournament for the final playoff spots before going into a best-of-5 first round. The 2 subsequent rounds would then be a winner-take-all before a best-of-5 NBA Finals. According to CJ McCollum, this was his reaction to the entire situation, and he said it depends on how the tournament is structured. I can't say I would be happy with it or that I think it's the right thing. I'd have to see how it is structured. I think logistically, the NBA is in a position to experiment with many potential situations. And the NBA has, for the most part, done a wonderful job trying to prevent the spread of the illness currently. But Commissioner Adam Silver also said it's too soon to tell what the economic impact would be in this scenario. We've been analyzing multiple scenarios on a daily, if not hourly basis, and will continue to review the financial implications. Obviously, it's not a pretty picture, but everyone, regardless of what industry we work in, is in the same boat. Now, the NHL and MLB have already postponed their seasons, so everyone's kind of looking at the NBA to see how they're going to handle this situation. If you ask me, I think the NBA is in a phenomenal situation to really experiment with some concepts that they could implement in future seasons that should be regular NBA seasons. Say this play-in tournament that was suggested by the road tripping crew and LeBron James. This could be a pretty cool outline down the line for future tournaments to allow some teams that could potentially be an 11th seed make it into the playoffs. Now, of course, that kind of discredits the regular season, and at the same time, it will make athletes not try as hard for the regular season. So there is a possibility that this won't be the new wave and it won't be the new standards set by the NBA for the future. But at the same time, you have to tip your hat off to the fact that the NBA is doing its absolute best to relaunch the regular season. Now, at the end of the day, all these games are probably going to be played in empty arenas. There's no way that we could go to the games, and it's going to be a little bit awkward watching games without any fans in the stands or any crowd going crazy. You're going to be able to hear players talking to one another, but I'm sure at the same time there's going to be some changes that the NBA will implement to kind of make that an advantage. Maybe the players will be mic'd up a bit more, kind of how they did in the XFL. Maybe you'll be able to get some in-game interviews or interviews with the players, kind of like they did in the XFL as well. But like Adam Silver said, they're considering other options as well, because the NBA apparently is talking to teams about clearing arena dates for games in the summertime. And this is as a result of the expectation that the NBA is going to return without fans in attendance, at least initially. Now, if the NBA plays without fans, they could conceivably play their games anywhere. It is unlikely, however, that the home arenas of teams will have other events scheduled if the NBA is still not allowing fans to be in attendance. But for the most part, the one positive takeaway that you could take from all of this is it appears to be more likely than not that the NBA will conclude and complete this year's regular season, because it would be an absolute travesty if we went without a NBA champion for the 2020 NBA season. Personally, I'm very attached to this season because it's the first season that the Los Angeles Lakers have been relevant in, I don't know, what has it been, 10, maybe 9 years? So it's really, for me, it's really important that we actually figure out who wins this year's NBA Finals. I want to see if the Houston Rockets science experiment with small ball ends up paying off. I want to see whether the Utah Jazz could potentially make a deep run as well, you know, all things considered with Rudy Gobert, and whether Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert will be able to rekindle the chemistry that they had initially prior to this madness occurring. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think that the NBA should play all of their games in Las Vegas? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think the tournament is a good idea? Because it could completely devalue the regular season, but at the same time, there isn't much of a choice. Weeks are coming off of the NBA schedule. Players are losing money. According to a report earlier, the NBA reduced salaries of 100 top earning league office executives by 20%. So at the end of the day, something must be done to save the economy of the NBA. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and make sure you check out my first video on Flight FC. I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'll catch you guys in our next upload.